What if I told you that everything, and I mean everything, from the physics of the universe to the very idea of good and evil, could all be traced back to one single, incredibly simple starting point? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, a theory that tries to build our entire reality from the ground up, starting with just one tiny axiom.
All right, so let's get right into it. If you're going to build a universe from scratch, you have to start with the most basic question imaginable. What is the absolute rock-bottom minimum price for something, anything, to exist, instead of just not existing? Seriously, what is the cost of being?
And the answer, according to this theory, is this number. It's an infinitesimal. It's so ridiculously close to zero that it's practically nothing. But, and this is the absolute key to everything, it isn't zero. It's the smallest possible yes and an infinite sea of no. It's the smallest possible unit that can actually have an effect.
They call this the cost of being, and you can think of it like the fundamental pixel of our reality. The theory says that for anything to be defined, for it to stand out from the background of pure nothingness, it has to pay this tiny, tiny energetic price. It's that little sliver of a difference between 0.999 repeating forever and the solid whole number 1.
Okay, so if everything that exists has to pay this tiny cost, that immediately creates a separation, right? You have a something versus a nothing. And this one idea leads us straight to the theory's most important rule, the law of opposition.
This law basically says that existence is all about balance. It's a dynamic tension between opposites. You just can't have a yes without a no. You can't have a +1 without a -1. You can't have existence without nothingness. In this model, reality is literally generated by the constant push and pull between these forces.
And the theory itself is incredibly blunt about this. The source material puts it this way: nothing can exist without an inherent opposition. This tension is what drives all phenomena. So it's not just a neat idea. It's supposedly the engine that makes the entire universe go. So we've got a fundamental cost, and we've got an engine of opposition. But how in the world does that get us to galaxies and planets and, the laws of physics? Well, let's take a look at how this theory tries to build a universe that we can actually recognize. The first huge consequence of all this is that reality isn't a smooth, continuous thing. No. According to this, it's a grid. It's a discrete, pixelated reality, kind of like the screen you're looking at right now. And that smallest possible pixel, its size, is defined by that cost of being we started with.
Now, having a pixelated universe totally reframes one of the most famous constants in science, the speed of light. The theory argues that c isn't just some random speed limit someone put up. It's something much more fundamental. It's the speed limit of observability itself. So, how does anything even move in a pixelated world? Well, think of it like a movie. For a photon to move, it has to affect the next pixel in the grid. It has to jump from one static frame to the next. And to do that, it has to be fast enough to cross one pixel of space in 1 unit of time. What we see as smooth motion is really just our perception of these impossibly fast jumps. So the speed of light isn't just how fast a photon can go, it's the absolute maximum frame rate of reality.
All right, you might want to buckle up for this next part, because this is where the theory takes a massive leap. It claims that the law of opposition, that same fundamental tension we just saw in physics, doesn't stop there. It argues that the exact same logic applies to the forces inside our own heads, consciousness, and even morality.
It all comes down to this, the universal force equation. Now, don't worry, we're not going to get lost in the math here. The core idea is actually pretty simple. It's trying to say that the force of anything, whether it's a planet's gravity or the power of an idea, can be described as a product of its inherent tension, what it calls strain, and its reach. It's an attempt to put physics and thought under one single umbrella.
That key variable, sigma, is what the theory calls strain. And when we're talking about consciousness, strain is just the word for our direct experience of that fundamental tension. It's that push and pull we feel. So according to this, positive emotions like joy or peace, that's just what it feels like to be in a low strain state. And negative emotions like anxiety or anger, that's you directly perceiving a high strain state. And from there, it takes this idea of strain and uses it to literally try and map out morality. It suggests that actions can be placed into one of 4 quadrants, creating a framework to quantify everything from what it calls the greater good all the way down to the greater evil. It's a seriously ambitious idea.
So where does all this leave us?
We've gone on a wild ride from a number that's barely even there, to the fabric of the cosmos, and then into the nature of morality itself. But the theory itself has a pretty honest and I think really interesting final perspective on what it's all about.
It actually admits that every system of thought is basically a box. It's a model of reality that's built on a few core ideas you just have to accept as true. You can't prove them from the outside. Formal math is a box, string theory is a box, and this theory, well, it's just another box.
And that really is the ultimate question it leaves us with. It's not about whether this one theory is the final capital T truth. The real question this whole thing forces you to ask is this: which box, which model of reality gives us the most accurate, the most complete, and the most useful description of the world we all live in?